This is the end result icon we need to achieve for Steel Pinion. We're going to create a automatic script in Adobe. So it's not exactly a script, but you can record your actions and then save it so you can automatically apply it to other images later. Once you hit the record button, then certain actions you take will be recorded and added to a list there. So you can move the canvas around, just not going to do that, but certain editing actions, like changing this canvas size here, is going to get recorded. So you'll see that pop up here on the right side. What I'm trying to do is make sure that there's transparent borders, because in Unreal, whenever we're using textures and shaders, if we're using a clamp algorithm and there's a pixel on the border, then it will create this weird nasty artifact. So we have to make sure that it's transparent on the edges. So I found that converting it this way works really well. So first I change the canvas to 570, then I adjust the entire image to fit into 256 by 256. When you're dealing with shader color math, the number 1 is your friend. And so 1 is going to be perfectly white. So you want to recolor the image to be solid white, when dealing with icons. So that'll help so that in the game we can control the color there. Right here I made a mistake. We didn't want to stop recording yet. We want to record the save. After some troubleshooting, I'd figured it out. I needed to record the save, so I came back and just reopened it and just recorded and saved anything. Usually save for web is fine. We're going to do a save and close in the automation, so it's not super important, but just getting that action in there is what's needed. For the exciting part, we can actually run automate batch and then reproduce that action for a certain folder. And using save and close will make sure it just overwrites those original icons. So since I process them the same way in Illustrator and then move them out, I can use the same algorithm and get the same results there. So the only thing to do after that is just fix the names to be something more clean. Then the next step is to just drag and drop these guys into Unreal. So once we get it in, usually the naming convention is T underscore in whatever other categories you have. The main thing to keep in mind with these kinds of icons is we don't want it to be repeating. So we're going to have to open it up. You double click on it and then you go to the clamp settings, or what is it called? Wrap settings. And then you set the wrap settings to clamp. And so it'll, by default, is going to wrap around. We don't want that. Next up is the dynamic material instance. So in my common UI widget, I've got this dynamic material being created. When it's instantiated, I store it in a variable. So then later, you can easily control some of the parameters in the material. So all of this is just logic for my own instantiation, but the main thing to remember is the material, and then you can just call set parameter value, and there's like 3 different types: vectors, textures, and I think scalar. And I don't think there's anything else you can really pass in. But in our case, we have a texture, and since we know that if it's the description tab or the angles tab, we know exactly which image to use, so we can just directly set the asset. And yeah. And finally, we have our icon showing up, and it's dynamic, so I'll be able to support all those tabs here shortly once we move in the rest of those textures. Now, the icon itself is kind of small, so that's another topic to get it to look good, but that's just getting the texture in and stuff was the main thing to cover here. All right, and then after rinse and repeat for all those other icons, we have it in. And all the little tab hovers I've got, and then I did the first two menu states. So it takes a little while to figure this out because they're designing it while like coding it in and making all the assets, so it takes quite a while to just get one tab made. And each one has different data to show, so but it feels good. This has been a vision for a long time, and this is the best version of it that we've had. It's probably version 5 or 6, so feeling good.